Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long. Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! I'm not proud, Gary. Does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week 2 are here. We are 1 week down, 17 to go. Join me today to make the picks. Great friend of the podcast. I just saw a Met game with him a few weeks ago. Phil Lombardo is back with us. Phil, how are you?
Hey, Mike. Yeah, hopefully we can catch another one before the end of the year.
Yeah, we definitely have some opportunities. They have another homestand coming up. We can discuss off the air, I feel like, if we can sneak a game in here. But we talk some football here. And I have to admit, with all the craziness and the NFL signing that the Jets and Giants have to play every single week the same time, I did not see any of Giants Commanders on Sunday. So can you tell me what I missed?
Well, what I can tell you is you missed a lot of what we saw last year. Below average quarterback play, mostly due to the lack of blocking sustainability by the offensive line. I feel like this has been the same story for a decade, Mike, and quite frankly, I'm starting to get a little sick of it. The defense looked stout and solid in the first half. They were able to not stop, but contain the Commanders' offense for a large portion of the first 2.5 quarters. But as the offense continued to sputter and not produce sustainable drives, that defense just grew more tired and more tired each time they trotted out on the field. And by the end of that game, they were just getting gashed. And it was just depressing to watch, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it sounds very depressing for sure. I know they were down Andrew Thomas in that game, which obviously doesn't help. But from your perspective, having watched that game, what's the biggest concern for the Giants? Is it the offensive line? Is it the quarterback? Is it the fact that this is our third straight year we haven't scored a touchdown in the season opener? Like, what's your biggest concern area right now?
I mean, for me, obviously, all Giants fans, at least, the ones that have been have watched us closely as I have over the years, and most football fans know it all starts in the trenches. And for me, I know Andrew Thomas was out there, and James Hudson, who we gave 2 years and $12 million for God knows what reason. I'll give Joe Shane a call later and ask him about that. But Thomas was out, but the rest of the line, James Hudson led the team, allowing 6 pressures. But the entire offensive line, I looked at the Pro Football Focus grades, none of them over a 62. So it's not like anybody out there was really pulling their weight. And I understand Russell Wilson's over the hill. I understand he's not the same quarterback he used to be. He's not as nimble in the pocket. He's not as quick of a decision maker. He was getting pummeled, even on plays where he got the ball off well before the defender got there. He was still getting hit. He was still getting knocked to the ground. He took some big licks in the beginning of the game. So really the offensive line, yes, number one concern. But I really need to see more out of the defensive line. I know we got 3. We sacked Jaden Daniels 3 times. But at the same time, we gave up 220 yards on the ground. And you can call it being tired, call it being the first game of the year and not having your sea legs under you because preseason's so short and guys are not getting a ton of reps. But it's still no excuse. So trenches. I'm just focused on the trenches for over the next couple of weeks because without that, the Giants are going to be looking at another dismal year and picking in somewhere in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, I would agree with that here, especially like when you have a guy, Russell Wilson, who wants to throw the deep ball. Like, he's not going to be effective. He has no time to actually let the guys get deep enough to chuck it.
And it's really you look at the stats, you look at the box score. Darius Slayton, 1 target, right?
Yep.
We have Jalen Hyde, who's one of our deep threats, right? When we're able to sustain blocks, we start seeing him in a couple of sets, especially in the second half. If the Giants are behind, he didn't even get into the game.
Yeah,
that tells you more about anything about what Dable and Mike Kafka, their offensive coordinator, thought about what they were able to do than anything. If those guys are not even getting targeted or getting in the game, they're deep threats, they're guys that can stretch the defense, then that just says everything you need to know.
It does here. Now you got a big game on Sunday against the Cowboys, who probably should have beaten the Eagles week 1, if not for tons of drops by CeeDee Lamb and a key fumble in the red zone by Miles Sanders. So we know that this is sort of a very big spot for the Giants, considering they never beat the Cowboys and they got the Chiefs and Chargers coming to MetLife the next 2 weeks. So what are you looking for in this game?
What I'm looking for is just sustainable offense to help that defense, who is now down Micah McFadden, which I think he was one of their unsung heroes over the last year and a half. The way he's developed next to Bobby Okereke, when they're both on the field, that defense has a little pep in their step, I'm concerned about the Cowboys didn't look as pathetic as some might have thought they would against Philadelphia. They were able to run the ball a bit, especially in that first half. And I know after the delay, both teams came out a little flat, and the game kind of ended, without much to talk about. But before that, offense was moving the ball against a defense without Jalen Carter, but still a solid defense. So really, just like I said before, it's really going to come down to the trenches for me. I want to see the Giants come out and smack the Cowboys in the mouth for once, because every game that we play Dallas, they come out and smack us in the mouth. And sometimes it's on the first play of the game. And I really think we need to set the tone if we want to have a chance.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that here. So we'll see how this goes for the Giants. I think definitely a must-win spot for them. Let's get to the pick, was the reason why you're here this week. Anthony Calby stopped by the podcast last week, made some picks. He went 2-1 on the week. He had the 49ers laying a 2.5. They won by 4. The Broncos laying a 7.5. Vegas knows what they're doing. They won by 8. He had the Bengals laying the 5.5. They only won by a point and could have lost outright. So 2-1 for Calby on the week.
Yeah, it's not bad, especially in week 1 when you don't really know what you're going to get.
Yeah, and speaking of not bad for week 1, I had a good 3-0 week 1. I had my Jets covering 2.5. They lost by 2. I had the Rams laying a 3.5. They won by 5. And I got the Ravens as 1.5 point dogs when we locked that podcast in. They lose by 1. So a little bit of a horseshoe up my ass on those picks, but I got them.
Have you ever started 3-0 before?
I have. I think like 22 I started 3-0.
Okay, well, you got to keep the train rolling then.
Yeah, we do have to keep the train rolling here. As the guest, Phil, you can go first. So where are you going with pick number 1?
So we're going to go back to Baltimore because, obviously after that devastating loss to Buffalo last week, I really think that they come out at home in front of that home crowd at M&T Bank and just absolutely take it to Joe Flacco. I think they're doing their 30th year celebration, and I thoroughly think it's going to be a celebration in Baltimore. Give me Baltimore minus 11.5.
Yeah, definitely an interesting spot with that pick as well here, because this is like a game that, like, you figure they're pissed off after that loss. It's a homecoming game against the Browns. I will say, though, we thought the same thing last year against the Raiders, and they lost. That's something to be at least mindful of. I do think this is not the team that can pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Browns have another like big fight in them like they did last week. I think they're a 3-4 win team. We all see it, and I think Baltimore is still one of the best teams in football.
All right, let's pick one. Where are you going to pick 2?
All right, well, I'm going to go to a familiar face, and I'm going to hop on the Danny Dimes wagon for at least one more week. I didn't really like what I saw out of Denver, even in a win against Tennessee. Sure, they were able to stymie that unformidable, I don't think that's a word, but soft offense led by Cam Ward. But they were a couple of drops away from that game being dangerously close. And I really, obviously, it goes without saying, the Colts looked pretty good last week against Miami. I know Miami's a dumpster fire right now, but let's not take anything away from, the Indianapolis Colts. So give me the Colts, who are a home dog, plus 2.5.
I like that home dog pick there, too. Plus, you look at it here. I mean, like, Bo Nix looked terrible last week for most of that game, and he's facing a much better defense on the road than he did last week at home.
Yeah, I think he turned it over 3 times. And, listen, he's got talent. There's no denying that. But the Colts made Tua look pretty lost out there, and I think they could do the same to Bo Nix.
All right, that's pick 2. We're going to pick 3.
Going to look at another team who has a brand new coach and a different offense in Liam Cohn and the Jacksonville Jaguars, plus 3.5 at Cincinnati. I know Cincinnati won last week, and I know they, exercised some of those demons of those first 2 weeks, first 2 week troubles they've had. But I think I'm not a big believer in Cincinnati yet. They didn't really win me over with that performance, and I really love what Jacksonville was able to do with Travis Etienne, and I think we're going to see a little more of Bashal Tootin this week now that Tank Bigsby was traded to the Eagles. So give me Tootin and Etienne plus 3.5, Trevor Lawrence, Travis Hunter. It's going to be a Jacksonville win outright.
Interesting, because I'm going up against you in that pick. I like the Bengals laying at 3.5 points in that game because I feel like this is a spot where going on the road, Battle of Ohio, great defense, in-state rival, the jitters of the bad early season starts. I think explains last week to me. The Jaguars basically beat the Little Sisters of the Poor last week at Carolina, and Bryce Young turning back into a pumpkin. I feel like here, this is a spot where, I want to see them actually go on the road and be competitive in a game like this against a team that should be a playoff contender. I don't see it. I think the Bengals have a huge day. I'm going to lay the points, go heads up with you on that one.
All right, cool. I always like when we have one, at least one that's opposing.
All right, that's pick one. Pick two for me. I am going to the big game of the week, the Super Bowl rematch. I'm going to take the Chiefs as the home dog, getting 1.5. I know there were big issues last week. I know there's question about the weapons at the Chiefs. But for me, I look at this game, I see it's a spot where Philly, did not look great against the Cowboys. Going on the road here, the Chiefs have been playing for this game for a long time. And I feel like this is a spot where Kansas City, I find it hard to believe they're going 0-2. I think they're going to find a way to get a win here. I think they've had the Super Bowl rematch in their mind for a while. I'll take the 1.5 at home. I'll take the Chiefs pick two.
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike that pick, and honestly, my feeling about Philly, so I hope you're right.
Yeah, we'll see about that one. And pick number 3, I'm going to the early game on the Monday Night doubleheader. I'm taking the Bucs laying 2.5 on the road against the Houston Texans. And Houston, I have not been a big backer on this year. Their offense looked ugly against the Rams. They have an offensive line reshuffled. They're missing Joe Mixon. C.J. Stroud's weapons have all been reshuffled outside Nico Collins. Tampa is one of the perennially underrated teams in the league. They had a gutty road win against Atlanta week 1. They go on the road here. I feel like laying 2.5 is nothing. I think they are a very good team, and they are capable of winning this game on the road. So give me the Bucs laying the 2.5.
Yeah, I agree. That was another game that I was looking at as well. I believe in Baker, I believe in Bucky, and I believe in the Bucs.
Yeah, absolutely. So to reset the picks for the week, Phil has gone with the Ravens laying the big one, 11.5 at home against the Browns. The Colts as 2.5-point home dogs against the Denver Broncos. The Jaguars 3.5-point road dogs against the Bengals, and Phil says they're winning outright. If you want to make that bet, my picks are going heads up here. I'm laying a 3.5 with the Bengals. I am taking the Chiefs a 1.5-point home dog, and the Bucs getting 2.5 on the road against the Texans. So those are your picks for week 2 on the podcast here. So Phil, sorry I cut you off. I got something to say during the pick spot.
No. I was just laughing at that you're saying you wanted to make a bet on Jacksonville, Cincy.
Yeah, because you told the people that the Jaguars went outright.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I stand by that. I think Jacksonville is a very overlooked team this year. I know some analysts were high on them, at least to be a playoff contender. But I really, I really liked what I saw. I know it was Carolina, but Trevor Lawrence has a lot to prove. This is a prove-it year for him, and it's just a team that I think, as the season goes on, especially with a little more innovative offense, they could be a problem.
They certainly could here, and we could keep things rolling here. Phil, are you in the knockout pools this year?
I'm actually not in any knockout pools. I rarely do them, and maybe it's just because I don't get invited to them, but I don't really have any friends that do them. But yeah, no, I'm not in any. Are you?
Yeah, I'm in one. I got through last week. I had Denver over Tennessee. That was felt like the easiest one on the board here. I'm going to one of your picks. I will take the Ravens as my week 2 knockout pick, because to me, this is a spot where, yes, I know they burned a lot of people last year in this spot off the week 1 loss, and they lost at home to the Raiders. I don't think it happens again. Not to this Browns team, not with Joe Flacco at quarterback, and nothing really happening here. I think this is a spot Ravens get through, so Ravens are my second knockout pick of the year.
Yeah, I mean, really what it comes down to is going to be like late game management, and it has been for a while. It seems like they go from being this absolute juggernaut for 50 plus minutes, and then once that 10-minute mark hits in the fourth quarter, they start playing a little too conservative and letting things happen. Sure, Derrick Henry rarely fumbles. I think he's had like a streak where he had like 550 touches without fumbling, which I think is it's just crazy in the NFL to me. I know he's bigger than everybody else, but that's still very impressive. And he fumbled, which set them up, but they still had plenty of opportunities to win the game sans that fumble. They're the only ones that beat themselves most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see if they could get this fixed over the course of the year. And also mentioned next week, bringing back a returning guest for the pick segment here. My buddy Charlie Boris Jr. is coming back on here, a Bucks fan, as we get ready for Bucks Jets in week 3.
Bucks Jets, that'll be a fun one to watch. The Jets, for me, I almost picked them for our picks because I really just think Justin Fields looked very poised back there against a tough Steeler D. And I think that three-headed monster of him, Breece Hall, and Braylon Allen, as he gets ramped up over the course of the year, could be a problem for defense.
Yeah, that's the Buck home opener next week is that Jet game. They've been on the road the first 2 weeks, so interesting to see what happens here with the Jets and Bucks in that game.
So the Giants and the Jets both have their home openers week 3. I will be at Giants Chiefs Sunday night.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun spot. Phil, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. I love coming on here.